Yes. So why Young Living? There's so many companies out there. Essential oils are literally everywhere nowadays. They're even at like Dollar Tree and stuff like that. So how do you know what company to use, and how do you know that the company that you're using is the best out there? The truth is I can't give you the answer to that. You need to do the research on your own. That's the only way that you're going to be truly confident and certain in your answer. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to tell you some of the things that blew me away about Young Living, and then let you do the research on your own and come to your own conclusion. But Young Living, okay, so their Seed to Seal agreement sets them apart from the rest, first off. I'm going to post a link to that so that way you can check that out, because they're the only company that has it. The Seed to Seal agreement, long story short, basically means they have control of the entire process, from the soil, the seed, the entire care of the plant, all the way up to the entire distillation process and the bottling and all that. And of course they have third-party testing and all that good stuff too. But the Seed to Seal agreement is what just blows them out of the water, right? But once you get to know the company, you'll start to realize that it's so much more than the Seed to Seal agreement. It's their just ethical practices and everything, like their farming practices, their just everything. Like, I'm also going to post a link to the Young Living Foundation, because when I first signed up I didn't even know I was supporting that, and then when I found out I was, it just like was the icing on top of the cake. But anyhow, like I was saying, it's so much more than that. Like, one of the biggest things for me is their natural biological like systems that they use for farming. So they obviously do not use any weed killers, any pesticides or anything like that. Actually, the organic like qualifications is to have a completely pesticide free field before you can for 3 years before you can start to farm and harvest any crop. Young Living, 50 years. Yes, 50 years pesticide, any kind of chemical free, before they will even consider touching that land. They care so much about the soil and just all the practices. Like, they do not do synthetic, because the thing is, it's like, we don't do synthetic either, our bodies. Like, it's all they use their own essential oils to handle weeds and stuff like that. They have, actually, they plant in the Mona, Utah farm, they plant like praying mantis and ladybug eggs in the fields, because those bugs will not harm the specific plants that are growing out there, but they will prey on like the small beetled insects and those other insects that will damage the plants. Also, out in the Utah farm, I know so much about the Utah farm because I actually got to do a virtual tour, and so that's something cool that they do too. During this like pandemic stuff, they started doing virtual tours, but typically they are open to the public. You can go tour the farms, you can go tour the distilleries, you can go ask the employees questions. Like, it is all open, hands-on, no secrets, and they're the only company that's like that too, from my knowledge. So anyhow, I was talking about another cool like weeding thing that they do out in the lavender fields in Utah is they found a specific breed of sheep, right, that will eat the weeds in the lavender field but won't eat the lavender because they don't like the taste of the lavender. So in their lavender fields out in Utah, they literally just like let these sheep roam free in their lavender fields, and they feed on the weeds and don't eat the lavender. And like, that's just another example right there, natural biological system that they use to control their pests and weeds. So their farming practices are just so absolutely ethical, and on top of that, like, the science team that we have just again blows any other company out of the water. Like, we have been around for over 25 years, so we have so much science and experience underneath our belts that, like, I can't even go over all the cool things with you right now in a short amount of time. I could talk about this forever. But like some cool things like the distillation process, right? So every single plant, I don't know if you know this, has like a subspecies plant too. So this is another thing. So each plant has multiple subspecies plants, and our science has gone into figuring out which exact subspecies plant will create the most potent volatile essential oil. And then we use that subspecies plant and we create a big mother plant with that and harvest our own seeds off of that mother plant, so that we're always working consistently with that subspecies plant. And so each plant, right, has to be distilled at a certain amount of time. There's like that sweet spot where that Goldilocks, like if it's too low or too high, it's going to start losing some of its constituents, and it's not going to be its most potent and most the best essential oil that it can be. If it's distilled at that sweet spot and properly, like with the proper distillation method and all that, it's going to be that Goldilocks oil. It's going to, all the constituents are going to be there, and it's going to be the best that it can be. Like, I know cypress, off the top of my head, has to be distilled at a minimum of 24 hours. So, again, anything below 24 hours, which I'm telling you most companies out there are not going to distill for a full 24 hours. But if it's not distilled the full 24 hours, it's still going to smell the exact same. But the health properties, all the constituents, they're not going to be there. Again, if it's distilled like much longer, it's going to start losing those constituents. So it's got to be that Goldilocks, that sweet spot. The science that goes into it is just phenomenal. Like, so also, like, our science behind our blends, like, we have the best blends out there. We actually have the largest variety of essential oils and blends than any other company out there on the market. So, yeah, we're just, the science, I can't even explain the science, you guys. Okay, so one of my favorite facts is we teamed up with SpaceX and sent our Young Living essential oils out into space for experimentation, okay? If NASA picked us to work with for that, I think NASA did their research. You know what I'm saying? Like, but yeah, so don't take my word for it. Do your own research and learn on why Young Living is the best. With essential oils too, like, there's so many benefits to them that don't just let them be something to stink up your house. Like, there's so much more than that when they are in their purest form.